What's good, guys? So before we get into today's video, real quick, I'm aware that Becky Lynch mentioned AJ Lee this past Monday night on Raw. This video is actually recorded a few days before that. So let's just go ahead and get straight into it. Editor me, roll the intro.
Cue the standing ovation!
What an amazing moment. We are blessed.
For example, if you're just a fan who watches videos, but you never go into the behind the scenes stuff or you know, the Fightful Select reports and things like that, right? You really just watch the wrestling product for what it is and you're just a fan, which is, aside from me liking to make content about this and have conversations with you guys, if I'm not really just doing that, I don't really spend much time looking at things that are going to happen backstage. And with this one being so obvious, I wanted to also explain in a sense why they haven't even alluded to it just yet, even though they somewhat have. If you take into account how this all pretty much even began, it pretty much started when AJ Lee returned to be by her husband's side to fend off Becky Lynch, basically disrespecting him and fighting off Seth Rollins in the process, which then resulted in a mixed tag team match, which is what pretty much saved WrestlePalooza in my opinion, because good God was that card terrible. I don't have this much time to tell you, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, okay? And obviously the other women's match was great as well, but let's kick it off with the fact that John Cena went up against Brock Lesnar. What was the point of that match? When John Cena basically, they tried to replicate the SummerSlam match where Brock basically took him to Suplex City and John Cena became the inaugural citizen of Suplex City. But in any case, we also had the Usos versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And then we had Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship, which that match was great. Cody and Drew McIntyre, that match was not that good for whatever reason. Like that one, just they didn't have that chemistry. And then what saved the pay-per-view, in my opinion, or the premium live event, which was CM Punk, AJ Lee versus Seth and Becky, right? Which was already setting up AJ Lee taking the Intercontinental title from Becky Lynch, because in the SmackDown segment prior, or it might have been the Raw segment, I don't remember, AJ was basically oh no, it was the SmackDown segment when she returned actually. She took the belt and she's asking CM Punk if she can take the belt, and he's like, whatever, you know, whatever makes you happy. I'm giving you the lead up to it because then now what happens next is WWE had a show back in December at Madison Square Garden. And it actually wasn't in December. I apologize for that. It was actually November 17th. The reason why I felt like it was last month is just because time has been going by so fast. Like you could say literally a week and a half ago was last year. Like it's crazy. Time has been moving a little faster than I would like, but that's not the point of this. Let's go back to the topic here. AJ Lee comes back. She returns basically, and she costs Becky Lynch the Intercontinental Women's Championship by essentially, in a weird way, distracting Becky Lynch enough for Backstage to pick up the win. Now we fast forward, the man has evolved her character, turned it into somewhat of a political figure, if you will. If you know, you know. If not, I'm not going to get into that. But her character's pretty freaking hilarious. And it's not just me saying it. Other people are saying it. Sports Illustrated says it. X says it. TikTok says it. YouTube says it. Okay, all right. Her character is going to be huge. All right, it's going to be huge. So now that she's Intercontinental Champion once again, as she defeated Maxine Dupree, ironically enough, back in New York at the Barclays Center this past Monday night on Raw, in the Netflix premiere, Becky Lynch became Intercontinental Champion once again by defeating Maxine Dupree. Now, I'd imagine that what they're going to do is leading up into Royal Rumble, we may see Becky and AJ interact in the ring in some capacity, which may then cause one of them to eliminate the other, thus getting that feud get the ball rolling on that basically into WrestleMania season. Because they're not going to do it at the Elimination Chamber. You know, you don't really need to win the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber to fight for the IC title. So again, it's one of those things where they could just cost each other those two matches if they want to really do that whole cookie cutter story build up. And then we inevitably get the AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch match at WrestleMania, resulting in AJ Lee being the end game for Becky Lynch. Now, people are incredibly divided on this because although I personally am an AJ Lee fan, I also agree with this next point that I'm about to make. So obviously, quick little shameless plug here. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram or Threads, go right ahead. It's the same thing as my YouTube or Snapchat, do all that stuff. You know what to do. But shout outs to JP here. They go on to say, I'm going to say what a lot of people are afraid to admit. If AJ isn't full-time, then she shouldn't win the belt from Becky. Now, let's dissect this for a second. Becky is on Raw damn near every single week in some capacity. Now, obviously, she's missed a few shows, but that's probably just been due to her either being home with her daughter or I think it was like she was filming something. But anyways, However, a singles match at the Elimination Chamber in Chicago makes more sense because imagine the heat Becky would get against AJ. And given that the span from there on to Mania is less than 2 months, then maybe AJ could be available in those dates and take it all the way there where she drops it to someone. Preferably a multi-woman match between Becky, Bayley, Lyra, Roxy, etc. So let's dissect the first part of this. I agree with the fact that the Intercontinental Championship is the workhorse title. And it's been presented that way to a degree in the women's aspect as well when Becky had it, where she was there every week. Lyra was out there defending it. Not as frequent. I feel like ever since the Triple H has been in charge, he doesn't really have his champions, with the exception of the US title, really fight that often. Like there will be times where people will be champions for damn near over a month and not a single title defense. Case in point, Jade Cargill, I believe, has only had one title defense and she's been champion for almost 2 months already. Matter of fact check me on that. Let me look it up real quick. We're going to literally do this in real time so you guys could see how long has Jade Cargill been WWE Women's Champion. And it's going to pop up in real time. Over 2 months, okay? Over 2 months. 67 days, brother and sisters. And she's only defended the flipping title one time. And if you Google who has Jade defended the Women's Championship against, or just this, the AI will literally say Jade Cargill won the Women's Championship from Tiffany Stratton on November 1st. But as of early 2026 January, she has not defended the title on televised programming. Because obviously, you know, I think she had her one title defense against someone. Am I counting the... Am I dumb? Am I counting that show she did at Bridgeport against Bayley this past Sunday? You know what? My brain made the mistake because it literally says it here. She defended the title on a house show against Mitchin. Jade's next week on SmackDown against Mitchin is being promoted as a non-title match. So her streak of 0 title defenses on TV, premium live events, and SNME might extend for a while into 2026. So technically she hasn't actually defended the title against anybody. I say that to say that if AJ is going to be part-time, or she's not full-time, then her winning the title is not going to be the best if she's not going to be there at least several times a month, even if she just shows up, because then you can't really build storylines with other characters on TV. She can't have maybe a weekly defense here and there. And if she does, it'll be like once every other month or something. Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it, and I think that's why this person said this. Now, the second part that they go on to say is, however, a singles match at the Elimination... Let me stop you right there. I get that it's in Chicago, that it's in, you know, in CM Punk's backyard, but technically, AJ's from Jersey, right? So if you were to have any sort of inclination of her defending the title and you wanting that, like, home field advantage, or lack thereof if she loses, you'd want to do it in the New York, New Jersey area, right? New England, right? For example, this past Monday when they were in Brooklyn, that would have made more sense than doing it in Chicago. Although, technically, since she's married to CM Punk, it is technically like her second home, so I get where this person's coming from. But I wouldn't want to see it at the Elimination Chamber. If anything, I would want her to be in the chamber with Becky. And then they somehow cost each other the match in some capacity. Or something happens where one of them isn't in the match and they cost the other the match. Just something cookie cutter like that would be fine. Or they could do some sort of like maybe tag team match against one another. I don't know how that last part's going to work. But anyway, and then they go on to say in those dates, take it all the way, because then they should do a multi-woman match at WrestleMania between Becky, Bayley, Lyra, Roxy, etc. Now, a multi-woman match would be fire. I just don't think that it should happen at WrestleMania, as it should be a one-on-one between AJ and Becky. If they want to do a multi-woman ladder match, perhaps in the next premium live event, let's say Backlash, if you will, which is rumored to be in Puerto Rico, that would be pretty sweet, specifically because AJ is Puerto Rican. Then you could throw Roxy in there, who's also Puerto Rican. Bayley, who's also Puerto Rican. You know, you can get a lot of women in that match that would have the home field advantage. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, they don't need to be in the match just because they are Puerto Rican, but that is more or less what he was trying to do when he booked the show the last time they were there. He was trying to put like the biggest, stars that they had at the time for example, Zelina versus Rhea. They had Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny, which was, in my opinion, that should have been the main event of Backlash 23. But I digress. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. Let me know what else we should talk about down the line. I appreciate you for watching this far. If you did, comment down below which way you'd want it to go. Comment, fish are friends, not food, if you made it to the end of the video.